was donating half of my salary, but that was nothing.
You are a former Ukrainian top commander with a PhD in economics.
I have experience in dealing with international investors and macroeconomics. Imagine you coming to the military guys and asking them, hey guys, I'm a small startup with 4 co-founders. We just started, we have 0 in revenue. Our name is nobody. And can you please give us some landmines to play with? It's like, the door is that way, young man. So right now we have the biggest landmine threat signature in Europe, I would say, without any doubts.
Do you think Europe is doing enough to help Ukraine win the war?
Space is humanity's greatest laboratory. Defense is democracy's strongest shield. And today, in workshops, in laboratories, in startups, a new generation rises, not to observe history, but to write it, where every innovation above drives progress below, where every breakthrough in defense preserves our freedom to create. Behind every breakthrough stands a founder with a story. Now these stories emerge to light the path for those who follow. Welcome to Rockets and Radars.
Let's get into it. Before we get into the story from the very beginning, let's start very simple. For folks that might not know you yet, in one sentence, what is DROPLA about?
DROPLA is a short name from the drone platform.
Okay, it's an unusual background. You have a PhD in economics, master's in technical engineering, and you serve as a tank lieutenant. Most founders are either technical people, business people, or they come from military. You are all 3. What can you do because of that combination that someone with just one of those backgrounds simply can't in running a company?
We are all on our personal journeys with a designated set of skills that we either inherit from the experiences of our ancestors, like also the behavioral part of it, like how you've been raised, in what situations you encountered, you as an individual, because we as a human beings are extremely different and extremely alike at the same time. So it means that your pair of eyes have seen stuff that no one else in the world has seen or heard, and like your unique connectome of the brain is such a unique experience. So like there can be lines where we will try to like generalize stuff and try to put people in the bracket, but it's extremely individualistic journey. Like I don't know how it happened so that I have all those types of experiences. I've been always fascinated by electromagnetism back in the university days. That's basically designated the topic of my master thesis, which was the electromagnetic shielding for the sake of informational security. So I've been building antennas. I've been building different materials to test how different frequencies of the radio waves penetrate those materials for the sake of creating shieldings for preventing the information leakage. For example, like the server rooms, like where you can park a van outside bank and try to sniff the information that is being transferred inside the facility. So, but that comes from the fascination from the electromagnetism as a phenomena, I would say.
No, so super interesting. I didn't know that. But very good, respectable answer, I think. Let's not put things into the boxes. Everybody is different. So I like that. Okay, let's get into the company start. How did you end up even thinking about starting a company like DROPLA?
That's that comes from the story how I ended up in Denmark and in Sweden in the first place. Yeah. Well, I, as a Ukrainian and as the one who deeply in love with Ukrainian people, Ukrainian language, and the Ukrainian soul. So I believe that every people, like I don't want to use the word nation, I want to use the word people. They share a common traits, a very special composition of the soul. And I'm deeply in love with the Ukrainian language and the Ukrainian soul. And it's painful for me to watch how our former, let's say, ally. Well, we never been allies if you look at the history of the Russia-Ukrainian relationship. We've always been, they've always put a boot on our culture. They simply didn't like our existence for a very simple reason. The Ukrainian soul is extremely beautiful and about love, and also about freedom. The history is such that the oppressive states, they hate the idea of freedom, because free people and free souls and free minds are impossible to contain and bring to the obedience. So it usually happens through violence only. And violence as the main means of achieving this goal. So if you look at the history of the relationship, they've always been trying to destroy our culture and diminish our culture and say that our people did not exist and that our language did not exist and that it's a construct and that we are the minors and they're the biggest ones. So when this whole thing happened, first of all, I didn't think that it's gonna happen because I was extremely young and naive in my thoughts about Putin, about the leader of Russian people, that he's smart enough not to do that. Of course, there's a lot of it's a multi-angular equation, obviously, and I thought that he's smart and that he's not gonna do it. That he's not gonna start a full-scale invasion into a European country in 21st century. Anyhow, that wasn't the case. So it felt like it felt difficult. It was the biggest depression of my life because I was outside Ukraine when that happened. So I faced a deep decision. Like sometimes life puts you in the bifurcation points where you are not, let's say, you're allowed to choose only from two variants. And you have nothing to do with, let's say, you didn't choose to be in this decision. It was life that came and put you as an individual into a conundrum. Like, what do? Do I go back to Ukraine and kill Russians and defend my country from the invasion, defend my land, defend the language, the people, the culture, the women, the children? I was in the armored division, so it means that I'm the tank commander. And I've been watching these videos with this famous 50-kilometer jam up to Kiev when they tried to take Kiev in 3 days. And I've seen Bayraktars just popping the caps of those tanks, like hammering on them. And I've seen how the 50-ton cap of the tank flying high because of the explosion of the ammunition that lies right beneath your feet. If you know, in the Soviet tanks, the ammunition, in Abrams, for example, it's stored in a special confinement in the back of the turret. But in the Soviet tanks, it's in the circle right beneath your feet. So you're literally sitting on explosives and there is nothing. So that's the reason why you see those spectacular caps popping off when the tank got hit. So I'm looking at that and thinking to myself that it's not a very safe space to be in during the modern warfare. The tank is big, its signature is huge. Everybody hunts the tanks. It's easy target. It gives out huge heat signature for heat-seeking missiles. It's a very easy target to hit. So it's no longer safe. And like, I'm thinking either I'm gonna go and die in 3 months, taking 10 Russians with me, and that will be the whole contribution of me, or I can stay out, and knowing that I have experience in dealing with international investors and macroeconomics and different financial schemes of attracting investments into the certain sectors of economies. That was the topic of my PhD. It was non-bank financial mediation. in the context of economic growth of the country. So I knew how to do that, and I felt that I can bring something more. But the story goes is that I've found myself a work in Malmö where I was back then, working as head of growth for some B2B SaaS startup. Very grateful for the opportunity. But after 8 months or 9 months or so, it was unbearable for me because the wage that I've struck with myself, that if I'm gonna to stay out, I have to contribute. So that contribution that I was doing back then was not enough to fulfill this wage. So like I was donating half of my salary, but that was nothing. And I started having a very hard talks with myself about am I staying true to that decision? Am I fulfilling it to the best of my abilities? So the answer was no. And it's a funny story because I pick up the phone to call Dmitry, my co-founder, on 6th of April 2023. And we started discussing, like I had ideas maybe producing food for our troops or special heating devices with low heat signatures to warm them up in the trenches during the cold periods. But then he started saying that we have a big problem with landmines. And that was after the famous counteroffensive operation of the Zaporizhia direction began. And it partially failed because of the PR, unnecessary PR and talks about it, but I won't get into that. But the Russians have prepared, and they laid down landmine fields 30, 40 kilometers deep, which halted the advancements of our troops. And then combined with the superiority in air and also in artillery, that was very hard thing to advance through a very complex landmine fields and engineering obstacles that were erected during the winter period. Then he said, like, there's a big problem with landmines. Let's try to solve it. Maybe we can do something with the laser technology. And I said that it's a very bad idea to do it about laser technology. But nevertheless, I have felt an opportunity to contribute. So in that moment, in the 6th of April, I felt that, okay, that feels if I will solve this problem. And something in me told me that if I will demine 20% of Ukraine, I will hold my oath fulfilled to myself. And I felt a huge spirit raising in me. And imagine that next day, I got fired on the 7th of April. Yes, by that startup that I was working as a head of growth in. Yes.
Intentionally or by accident?
No, intentionally. Like this meeting was planned like a week before, but intentionally not by me. That's the case. So like imagine that when I have this situation on 6th of April, where I feel that this is something that I should be doing with my life going forward. And then the next day I am released of my duties, of my current duties. And because I have done a very good job for the company, I've been recognized for it. And Andrew, the CEO, he agreed to give me a 3-month severance package for the good work that I have done for the company. And I've used those severance packages to basically fuel the early journey of DROPLA.
Wow.
Yeah. And
thank you so much for sharing this personal side of the things. I really appreciate it. One thing that comes to my mind, you mentioned Dmitry as one of your co-founders. What about the others? How did you get them on board?
Me and Dima, we've been in the lieutenant's school together. So we are sharing a lot of common stories from the youth years. And we've also been working with Dima in my previous endeavors. I've always been an entrepreneur, and Dima's been developing websites and software applications for me. But Ilarion is the second co-founder, is a co-partner of Dmitry that I also knew, but not from the lieutenant's years. So Dima and Ilarion, they were partners for 10 years. And then Max Tkachenko is 10 years older than us, but he's also a part of this group. And he's also comes from the same alma mater. So we've all attended the Dnipro Technical Academy, like mining academy. I don't know, they're changing this this name almost like every year. Either it's an academy or a university. I don't know. It's the mining university. This our alma mater, and that's what united us.
No, amazing story. Okay, let's get into the incorporation. Why did you incorporate it in Denmark in the first place?
I remember this day when Denmark has donated 19 howitzers to Ukraine, 19 Caesar howitzers. And the fact that stood out to me and created this extreme resonance with the Danish people is that they gave 19 out of 90.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody else back then has been very, 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 very cautious about what to give to Ukraine as the means to defend themselves. Like they've been given 10 systems. Of course, the support of partners has been there. 10 systems out of 2,000, 15 systems out of 20,000. But the Danes have given all their artillery weaponry that they had for themselves to Ukraine. And that for me stood as a greatest deed. Like that is a deed. Like Danes were first to give the artillery. Danes were first to sign F-16 agreement to Ukraine. Danes are the first in the world in donation to Ukrainian war effort per capita in the world, which means that every single Danish citizen has given more to this effort than any other citizen of any other country in the world. Like Danes are first in the donation per GDP percentage. Danes are first. And this extreme resonance between our people is what drew me undoubtedly to that. But this Caesar deal was the get-go. I thought to myself that I must be friends with Danes. Danes are cool.
No, great choice, I think. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, super. So at this point, you have some savings from the severance package. You have the co-founders. What happened after the incorporation? How did you get into the work, if you remember?
You find the problem, you find the innovation gap. It's been evident that the humanitarian demining, where we just began our efforts, and it was a very, I wouldn't say stagnant, but very rigid structure that's been forming for the past 30, 40 years. And the methods used has been legacy methods as widely accepted methods of doing the operations in demining. And I quickly identified the innovation gap there. And the reason for it, a good old corporate structure, resistance towards the innovation, towards improvement, because like it's a very well-known problem in the corporate world that the big corporations are incapable of rapid innovative cycles, for the reason of those innovation cycles being taken as a threat by an internal immune body of the company. For example, if your annual end statements are dependent on the amount of people you deploy in operations, then an innovative proposition of improving the operational sequence, that means reducing the human beings' involvement in cutting the headcount and reducing the headcount for that operation, is considered as a threat by the body, which constitutes this, let's say, equilibrium that it's in. So this is the big systems problem. But we identified the gaps, and we basically went for it. It's not something new. It's not my idea. Even the idea of Dmitro that he shared about demining with a laser has already been adopted and developed by Americans. They have a special system which is called Zeus, and very cool name. And it's a solid state laser system mounted on the Humvee, but it has a very limited bandwidth of operations. It's used for demining airfields in the scenario of distant mining. So basically, it's a common tactic that you need to destroy the infrastructure of your adversary in the first hours and deplete him from the ability to use air forces, because air forces is an extreme force multiplier. So you target the airfields, you use remotely deployed landmines, you scatter the landmines over the airfields to take away from your adversary capability to launch and land jets. And every airbase of the United States has one of the Zeus complexes, because when the landmines is scattered, let's say across the airfield, you can clearly see it. It's in the line of sight, and you can point the laser on it, and you can heat it up, and it will explode. So that's how you do it. But for the Ukrainian terrain, where everything is covered in vegetation, and you don't know where the landmine is in the first place, it makes no sense. So the idea of sensor fusion is not new. It's been discussed for the past 30 years. There's been an immense amount of man hours and research hours put into these innovative processes of detecting landmines. So it's not something that we have developed. We are just building on the legacy of the research that has been done over the past 30 years. And we're not using not building any sensors. We're just working on the software.
How did you get initial access to this collective legacy or knowledge that has been accumulating over the couple of years that you just mentioned?
It's open source.
Oh.
All the research, yes, all the research on that is an open source. There's been big collaboration between the Swedish FME, BAA systems, like 7-year study in deploying thermal sensors in static and dynamic environments, so detecting landmines and landmine fields. It's a lot of academia work that has already been done. So our
Gotcha.
Yeah, the concept, the ideas, you just basically the idea of DROPLA and the name of the drone platform, it comes from you launch a fleet of drones equipped with various remote sensing technologies. So like with RGB, thermal, multispectral, LiDAR, magnetic radiometry, ME pulsing, or metal detection, ground penetrating radar. And then you fuse this maps, this layered K together to pinpoint, and every layer, because every sensor has environmental limitation to it. For example, the line of sight sensors like an RGB, not thermal, multispectral, they have limitation. If the target is buried, they won't be able to detect it, and different kinds of vegetation. So every layer increases your detection accuracy. And then just working with the software, applying artificial intelligence. So that was the innovation, basically new neural networks. Convolutional neural networks is one of the example, but to detect signature. DROPLA is very simple. It's spectral signature identification. And then this AI boom has given us the technology, the means, the tools to actually build that kind of new systems capable of high computation loads. So the technology came there.
You mentioned software as the first step towards building your ultimate product or service. Although, as you mentioned, DROPLA is around fusing different technologies together, including the hardware-based solutions. So just for the listeners to understand, you fully focused on the software and then chose the hardware off shelf, or did you
Yes,
also move
absolutely.
into hardware?
You
Mm.
might say that DROPLA is 80% a software company. We use the off-the-shelf components, aka the sensors. So the like all the cameras, all the thermal cameras, magnetic radiometry technology, like lidars, also the drones that fly. We take it off the shelf. So basically, we need just to make them fly all together and then fuse the data layers and teach the neural networks how to detect those spectral signatures, which was the main bottleneck and one
Gotcha.
of the main spines of DROPLA is that how we train the system to detect this whole thing.
What is your ultimate moat, right? Something that is pretty hard to duplicate or remade by any other
Well,
companies.
obviously, it's going to be our ground truth training data set that we have created to train the artificial intelligence systems and train neural networks. As you might imagine, this is not an easy feat to get your hands on the targets and the landmines and the real landmines. Like, imagine you coming to the military guys and asking them, "Hey guys, I'm a small startup with 4 co-founders. We just started. We have zero in revenue. Our name is nobody. And can you please give us some landmines to play with?" It's like the door is that way. Young man. Like, of course, it's not an easy feat, but we've been extremely, what is the right word for that? Extremely determined to solve the problem. And life gave us an opportunity to be presented in the chief command and of our idea of creating this database. And then we've been giving a special permission to enter into the relationship with one of the engineering regiments of the Ukrainian armed forces, or which will not be named here, but they gave us a possibility to play with landmines. And we literally had a team living on this seeded landmine test field, basically burying it, reburying it, changing the orientation, testing it within different environmental conditions, high vegetation, low vegetation, that type of soil, this type of soil, like podzolic soil, clay soil, sand soil, different levels of moisture in the ground. So all types of environmental deployment of these landmines has to be recorded and written as signatures. So right now we have the biggest landmine threat signature in Europe, I would say, without any doubts. And this is constantly expanding because every mission that we perform right now in the world, it adds up to this ground truth training data set and expands it and increases the detection accuracy. So that would be our main moat of DROPLA,
Awesome.
a unique set to train artificial intelligence.
Okay, now I see the mod. When you mentioned that you were a team of 4 with no name, how did you get the door open at the end? You mentioned determination, but was there any breaking moment that turned them from no to yes?
That was this just determination. How would I say it? It's if you put your whole heart to it and you truly wish for it, and then you shall be given by your faith. And it's a very interesting property of the life we're in. It shall be given you by your faith. So we just really, really wanted to make this, to do this. And then the opportunity presented itself in the form of a very consequential line of events. Dmitry went to ask for forgiveness and to mend the relationship with one of his former friends because he felt that he needs to do it. And in this conversation, the friend, after the relationship has been mended, he mentioned that he knows one of the colonels that work in the high command of the engineering armed forces of Ukraine, which led to the meeting with this colonel, which led to the meeting with the general, which led
Connections.
to the
Nice.
meeting with the general, which gave us the permission to do that. And it's a very interesting line of events that are just presented
No,
by
awesome.
by life.
And I want to tap into your head if there are any new defense tech founders here listening and they haven't been able to tap into any of the forces just yet, what would you tell them? What is the best approach to get in touch with the right people in this industry if you don't have the network, let's say?
I believe you have to become closer to the network. So first of all, you must represent yourself in a very respected manner to the industry. So it means the events that you show yourself in. You must show yourself that you are constantly present. You must show progress. You must communicate progress, dedication, determination, vigor, perseverance, all those qualities that are highly accounted for in the defense, in the army. You have to be a representation of those qualities, and you have to show up every time, and you have to communicate with people, talk with people, and eventually you will find the breakthrough. But it's truly difficult to get acquainted into the circle. It's a constant effort, but this is the way. And 1, 2, 3 years down the road, you will have that core network around you. So the advice is not just as a not a general advice, like attend the conferences, attend the meeting, represent, be, like embody, show who you are, and then you
No,
will find your
very,
way.
very good practical advice. Great. And one last side question that I have regarding Europe's largest data set on explosives. Did you think about going through the simulations route and not the real explosives testing route? And why did you choose to go straight into real world testing?
Yeah, it's a known problem. The systems trained on the synthetic data, they fail in the real world environments and deployment. This is not just like some unknown problematics. Of course, with the advancements going further, the synthetic data sets are going to become more and more reliable. But we went onto the road gathering real world ground truth data set and then augmenting them a little bit with the synthetic data built on top of the real ground truth data sets. So it's not like you create it from the scratch. You need to get the real ground truth data. So the simple answer to this question is the synthetic data doesn't work in the real environment, period. It will always work in the simulated environment. That's it.
Gotcha.
But
No, totally makes
physics,
sense.
but physics-defined artificial intelligence is one of the most interesting areas that I see we're going to be moving into as a company. This it's a very
Good insight.
interesting topic.
Cool. Okay, let's get back into the timeline. How did the funding timeline look like in the history of your company at this point, where you build the largest explosive threat data set? How have you been financing yourselves back then?
We've been financing ourselves I've been financing myself from my severance package. Dmitry and Ilarion had a going business. Max also had a business for himself. So we've been pretty well funded for the period of, like, let's say, initial deployment. But we've been blessed by the introduction to the Danish startup ecosystem. And I have to give a shout out to my dearest friend, Nikolai Iversen, CEO of Spaceline, because he is the one who presented us all this startup ecosystem in Odense, get us acquainted with Odense and what stands in it, because he's been a business development manager in Odense Robotics. And
Nice.
yeah, the story goes is that I have visited some drone events in agriculture, because I was looking for the drone events back then just to get myself acquainted. And I found one in Odense. It was organized by some cluster. It wasn't with participation of Odense Robotics. And the representative of Odense Robotics been there. I remember the guy, Ule. Basically, I gathered people around me and gave the idea of DROPLA. It was just an idea, but Uli took my email and then handed it to Nikolai Iverson. And then Nikolai Iverson contacted me and introduced me to the startup ecosystem, to Udens Robotics Startup Fund, which played an enormous role in our journey. It was the goal of mine for almost a year to get inside Udens Robotics Startup Fund because it gave an incredible reputational boost. If you are supported, if you're supported by them, it's a big feat. I know that during that period, it was 270 companies that actually applied for that batch, and only 6 were selected.
What do you think that made them say yes? You were a team from outside Denmark. You had an idea. You were in the industry that wasn't yet as I cannot say popular, but as focused on as it's right now in that region. What do you think?
I think it was a determination and how I presented DROPLA. They felt this desire. They felt that if they give me this shot, I will not blow it. They saw me as a serious guy who doesn't throw words out there. It's actually my motto. If you look at my LinkedIn page, you will see this. If I say, I do. Motto. And just try to feel how much power this gives you as an individual if you stand by this motto and you actually do it and follow it. Of course, we all have our fall downs, weak moments, because we're human being, we're imperfect. But if you try to live by this rule, you'll see how much strength it gives you. Because sticking up to your word is one of the virtues that are deeply respected in the military environment. Nobody's gonna have and shake your hand if you have failed your word. So holding that and in that spirit, I believe, was one of the contributors.
No, awesome.
To
So
their
simple,
decision.
but yeah, it's not that common. Determination, a raw one, right? And standing behind your word. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Next milestone that I think it's worth mentioning here is getting InnoFounder grant around by the end of 2023. Can you give us some insight on how this system works and why the next generation of founders should check out this interesting instrument of funding as well?
This is the go-to instrument for the early founders in the Danish startup ecosystem. Period. If you are a startup and you don't know what you're doing, even if you do know what you're doing, you should definitely go, because it gets you acquainted with the ecosystem, with the players, and the other people that are building something. You have to get soaked into the environment that creates the ideas, that is burning and fueling. It's always gravitas of people, of the talent that you should be around if you want to build something remarkable. It's extremely hard to do something alone, distant from the community, from people, this hermit type of a founder that is sitting in the cave in solitude will never be able to create a very successful startup. You have to be close to this gravitational well of talent. And one of these gravitational wells of talent is obviously in a founder. And we've been extremely blessed to have the support. Imagine that, we've been 4 Ukrainians in defense, in DefenceTech, and InnoFounder and the Innovation Fund of Denmark supported us with 60,000 euros of grant money, and it was one of the biggest highlights. Small
Shout out
feathers
to them.
small feathers in the DROPLA's hat when we were just starting. Shout out to Mats Bend, our first investor. He's the founder and chief innovation officer of Capra Robotics. Extreme individual. Everybody who knows Mats close knows that. he was brave enough to support us when we had just an idea, and then he brought in his close friend, Oyvind Hulga. It's the Danish lawyer in the second generation, even the descendant of the Danish king.
Fun.
And we've been blessed with this journey and with their presence, because their first investment of 20,000 euros we spent in constructing and erecting this testing site, this landmine field. That gave us the most. So we needed money for the engineering construction works, like create the road, create the bruisers, prepare the terrain, and we used this money that Mats and Oyvind invested. Immediately, I transferred everything to Ukraine for the creation of this testing site, and that was the beginning of DROPLA, actually.
Wow.
So a big shout out to them.
Great story, and shout out to them as well. Cool. Okay, let's get into your time when you build your first UGV, DROPLA only. Tell us more about that. It was the next chapter in your company, I believe. So,
it wasn't me specifically who was building it. It was a full feat of Max Tkachenko, our head of engineering. He had great experience in scaling production. He's been working in the company called Delfast, like building electric bikes and scaling it in the United States. He knows his ways around the heavy engineering teams and manufacturing. So it was fully his idea, because we've been focusing mostly on the sensor fusion, drones that fly, the sensing technologies and artificial intelligence. But he said, we need something to remove vegetation cheaply, because one of the challenges in humanitarian demining was the cost of equipment that is lost during the operation. And that was the main attack angle for our humanitarian demining efforts, to reduce the operational costs per square meter, so that we can demine more Ukrainian land per euro than it is right now. And one of the tasks that deminer is performing, if you will analyze the time of how deminer does its work, is he gets onto his knees, he takes the scissors, he cuts 15 centimeters of the grass in front of him, and then he does the sweep with metal detector, and then he takes one step, he gets on his knees, he cuts 15 centimeters of grass, he makes the sweep, and he does it again. So 95% of the time is actually a vegetation removal. Yeah, and there is an insider joke in the industry that demining is a very sophisticated and expensive form of gardening.
Well, yeah, okay, that's a good one.
So he wanted to create some tool that the deminer can use to remove vegetation cheaply, and he will not cry literally when this thing will blow up. So we needed to make a very cheap and reliable vegetation removal tool, and Max took this challenge as a main thing. So that was the birth of our first UGV for the vegetation removal purposes.
How did he approach the product building itself? So he tried to get as many parts as possible off the shelf, right? And then put it together, or did he had any other mindset within building?
UGVs is not a rocket science, Martin.
No. Okay, fair point.
Like it's not a rocket science. Literally, it requires the deliberate supply chain management, like what types of detail, like the parts you're using, how reliable they are, testing them against each other, evaluating it, getting this whole composition into like one piece. It takes an engineering feat, but it's not a rocket science.
No, fair point. So for that, anyway, regarding products, you ended up with 3 different UGV variants. Clover one for clearing vegetation that we look into, Miller one for triggering mines, and Uni one as your universal platform. Why did you end up building 3 different types of robots or UGVs instead of having one Swiss Army knife that did everything?
It's impossible to do a Swiss Army knife. Like, you cannot build it. Obviously, either it's going to be too expensive, and when you will lose it, you will cry your eyes out. So basically, we here comes a small, I wouldn't say pivot in the DROPLA's journey, but a change of focus, I would say. Because we've got approached by our Ukrainian armed forces. They recognized our work that we are doing in the humanitarian demining sector. So, and they asked, like, guys, we like what you're doing for the humanitarian demining, but can you do the same for us, but in real time? And
Yeah,
that was
got it.
the moment where we switched to supplying Ukrainian armed forces as our primary objective right now. Of course, we're having our humanitarian demining missions ongoing in Ukraine, but right now 80% of our attention is helping our army. The same thing goes for the UGV. We figured out that the UGV that Max made as a base, because like you can just use a platform and then you can put different instruments on top of it. Like you can use it as a vegetation removal, you can use it like as a logistical unit, you can use it as a flail unit that hits the ground and explodes the landmines. But the base platform is a very, how would I say, versatile. And we figured that we can use that to our military goals.
By the way, when you mention pivot and looking into the actual battlefield environment, can you give us a big overview over your current full product lineup by this point? It's not only the sensor fusion and the UGV and the new platform that you slightly mentioned, it's something more. Can you tell us about that? How did each product or service become a thing and why?
I wouldn't like to get into specific details about the product lines
No worries.
here in this podcast, but I can say that the main product that we make is called Blue Eyes. This is a system of threat detection in real time. So in order to secure the logistical routes and enable the logistical operations of the Ukrainian armed forces, because they are operating in the most contested environment that the world has ever seen, under constant fire, under constant pressure, distant mining, artillery, FPV drones constantly in the air, ISR capabilities of the adversaries reaching 30, 40 kilometers into your front edge of the battle area, or FIBA zone. This is the line before your trenches. You have the trenches, then you have a FIBA zone, and this kill zone, so it's called, it's constantly expanding. You need to do the logistical operations, and the adversary is constantly trying to challenge your operations inside the FIBA zone by the means of distant mining or dropping landmines from the drones at night, or putting so-called ambush drones at night near the road. So in order to do the logistical operations and resupply the front line, you need to secure your way to it. And you need to avoid all those threats and obstacles that are just laying on the ground and waiting for you. And the reason why they approached us with the demand to do it in real time, you cannot do it post-processing, which means that you cannot rely on half an hour data before you go. But think about it. You need
Things
to
change so fast. Yeah.
it changes so fast. So if you do the scanning, you come back, you process the data, it's already too late because something might have landed in this time frame of 30 minutes that you used to process the data. So you need to scan as you go. And this is the main function of the Blue Eyes system, giving threat detection capabilities and geotagging in the real time.
One thing I want to understand, thank you so much for the description, despite the restrictions on what we can say here. I want to understand how you decide upon focus. So now I can totally see the ecosystem that you have started to build out of the fundamental system that you have created in the first place. Most startups die managing one product, right? You are managing right now an entire ecosystem of products and services. How do you decide on what to focus on and what to build next without losing focus? I'd love to understand that.
It's a very dynamic environment. And each startup is a very dynamic environment. And you have to constantly feel the pulse of the problematics that you are solving. And how does solving this problem aligns with your heart and your goals. So when the military approached us, we immediately felt that, okay, that doing humanitarian demining is good, but helping our armed forces is the sole main purpose of DROPLA right now, because we have a war to win. And the set of problems that are put in front of us, like right now, dictate our product development cycles, because we have to solve those problems. So I would believe that the answer to your question is always define the problem. Is it changing? Where does the motivation lie? Is the shifts in the consensus, like that you feel where it is going, or just be like Jensen, who won? That was doubted by everybody. There's been zero taps on the back of Jensen. Nobody believed in that type of processing going or mass deployment in the world. Like, he has faced such an obstacles. Everybody was against him, and he's been building. Like, he said that he doesn't need to change like the world right now. He just needs to create the product that will change the world. So he's been working and perfecting product like year by year, just before it expanded into the biggest company in the world. Very inspiring journey, by the way. And he also said that if he would do that again, he wouldn't.
Oh, why do you think so?
He
Long
actually
journey.
He explained it, just the amount of obstacles and difficulties that he had to endure as an individual by being a CEO of such a company, navigating the industry, bringing in changing innovation. I cannot even fathom the level of difficulties that this individual encountered. And he is on top of the world and being king of chip for a reason. And to the question, would he do that again? He said, guys, I wouldn't.
Let's get into fundraising. This year, actually, in 2025, you closed in total 2.4 million euros from MyInvest, IFO, which is the Danish export fund, and Final Frontier, and many more folks on the cap table. Let's get tactical, and I would love to understand, how did you get from the first conversation to closing the round? What was the process? How did it go? And what have you learned from it?
You need to know the language in which the capital communicates. You need to know the types of capital you're dealing with. You need to know the frameworks under which this capital is deployed and under what incentives the venture funds or private equity funds they operate. For example, there's different types of capital out there, different types of financial instruments, and every one of them is operating different frameworks. So if you want to get attention, just think it from the capital perspective. Imagine that the capital is its own entity with its own rules that are put to work within certain system. And if you won't be able to satisfy that framework with your solution, with your business plan, with your scaling thesis, then you fall out of the scope for that particular type of instrument, that particular type of capital. So the answer to that would be know who you're dealing with, know what type of capital you're speaking to right now. Is it a business angel? Is it a small private equity fund? Is it a family office? Is it a big venture capital fund? Is it a mega bank with their financial instruments? Is it a debt? So there is numerous financial instruments that you can find and deploy within your journey. So just know the framework that they are operating under and know their exit thesis. Where do they want to make an exit? Where do they plan? What are their plans? And obviously, it takes an extreme amount of building personal relationship, and being genuine is extremely important. Trying to hide something or it never worked. It's only genuine, direct conversation about your plans, how you want to do it. Because in the moment you're being assessed, do you really believe in what you are saying? This small vibration, you might say, that the the doubts,
People can feel it.
yes, people feel it 100%. If you doubt what you are saying in a conversation with investor, forget about it. Like, he will forget about you. It's no. Just make sure you are 100% on what you are doing.
Very tactical. Great. Thanks for sharing that. And what I'm curious about, have you ever thought about different roads than choosing the venture capital as the capital type that you want to go for?
In a situation when you want to fund your journey, I would say you don't have a choice, and you knock on the doors that are there, and the one that opens first. Okay. So for us, it's for us it was business angels. Obviously, we have several business angels that supported us in their earliest journey, but then conversations with IFO, which has been extremely supportive in our journey. I would say that DROPLA wouldn't be if IFO wouldn't be in our journey. Because their financial instruments that they deploy, for example, this match loan that they deploy in Denmark, like if you get a small investment from the angels, let's say 200,000 euros, you can come to IFO, you can pitch to their committee, you can tell them, we need more capital. It's like, you cannot do anything for the 200,000 euros. We need more of that. Can you match this with the loan solution and financial instrument that you have? And there you have 400,000 now. And the type of that loan it's a patient loan. It's a type of a capital that's gonna stay there with you. Yes, it is a debt on your balance sheet, but it's a patient debt. It's not like you're gonna get grounded and pounded for not paying for the first year or first 2 years. IFO is a national player. I call IFO is arms of Denmark. So it's basically an instrument through which Denmark as a country is incentivizing different types of the economy within Denmark. It's a huge set of its hands, and having that support from literally hands of Denmark is extremely beneficial to any type of the entrepreneurial journey in Denmark. So if you are a startup that is able to find financing from the angel investors or small VC, you should 100% approach IFO and literally ask them what type of financial instruments they can deploy to help funnel your journey, because they're extremely interested as the nation of Denmark in growing its economy, growing its capabilities. They want you to succeed. So they will help you. And yeah, that was
Again,
very
shout
important
out
to
to
us.
them.
Shout
Okay,
out
great.
to IFO, to Klaus, if he is watching.
Nice. Okay, great. Cool. Now I would love to get into the other side of the table. So now you successfully fundraise. What are you doing with the money? A very simple yet hard question.
There is a problem that every founder basically faces when they were dealing with defense engineering. This is called buy versus partner versus build. So you need to decide how you're going to deploy your resources. Either you're going to build it yourself, which will entail huge salaries, long production cycles. If you don't have the experience or the experienced people from that, it might be not the right choice. Then you have partner, where you co-build the capability with a partner, and you split the resources you spend on it, or you just simply buy the complete solution that is already out there in the market, entail the IP and down the road difficulties if they occur, but you just do it. So it's just a question of the most efficient capital deployment. How do you get faster from point A to B in your current situation? If And then you just choose and decide. For us, it's a spectrum of things. We build, we partner, we buy, we outsource to the third party. So it's the question of where are you, where you want to go. So for us, I would say it's most of the money that we spend. I would say it's build, followed by partner, followed by buy.
And now I want to understand where you actually want to go in short and long term outside of the capital deployment. What is your? Well, we have got into the mission. We haven't got into the timeline where you want to go. So curious if
Right.
you have any clear thoughts on that.
Of course. So the mission of DROPLA is to become the leading Europe's AI force protection company. This is without any doubt, I would say it any time you wake me up. We want to make sure that we're building the shield for Europe. Because if you look from the perspective, like what actually DROPLA is doing is that we're building a shield. We're building force protection solutions. And we want to build this shield, and we want to be the leading company in Europe building the force protection solutions that are associated with advanced technologies of artificial intelligence, new sensing, sensor fusion, like advanced compute technologies. This is going to be the one hell of a journey, I would say.
Wow, it already is and has been. So thank you for sharing that. Cool. Now I have a quick list of a few questions, which I call quick fire round questions. Some bonus things I would love to get into it. So let's get into that. I want to understand, how do you think about hiring a new talent? You started with, in total, you were 4 co-founders, right? Then you hired more than 20 folks in the company over the couple of months and years. How do you know who is a great hire and who is not? Just want to get into your head and understand how you think about this.
There is different in hiring, for example, sales force in defense, or hiring engineering force in defense. If we're talking about the engineering force, then we have a very simple playbook. We have a test, I would say, high-level engineering problems. We have a special website that we refer our the people that want to work with us, that they have to solve certain types of challenges before they even get to talk to us. So it's some kind of a challenge that you go through, and then we just basically pick the top of the class, which is a direct indication of AAA players, and then we take it from there, because their own hire is the single most draining resource from the resource standpoint thing that you can do in your career.
Chain link, right?
It's such a draining thing. If you hire the wrong person that is like misaligned in your basic values, this is also extremely important. Like if you assess during the interview that the basic values of the person does not align with your company's, your personally as a leader, there is going to be a breakdown eventually somewhere down the road, like without a doubt. You must connect in the beginning. You must connect on the basic level of the values. Why are you doing what you're doing? Answering that question very, very distinctively, very deeply. What is it in you that makes you do that? Or you can just wake up and do some other things. Like suddenly, just if you're misaligned, then this guy one day he wakes up, oh, I want to do some other things. I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't feel like it. And then you have lost 6 months of salary. You have lost 6 months in training. You have lost 6 months in roadmap development. You have to get new guy up to speed. You have to get the work that's been doing by that guy that left on the table. It creates such a mess within the company. So hiring is one of the most crucial things, obviously.
Have you had any bad hire, by the way?
No.
Well, then your system is working pretty well. Good. Okay, cool. Next question. What is the best decision you have made in the last years since starting the company?
It's a combination of daily talks with people. It's a combination of daily small decisions that form your path. like talking to that guy or to that guy, and then thought came to your mind because you combined those two conversations, and that led to a decision. It's impossible to trace like one distinctive point. I would say that that type of situations that you're asking for, they are created by life itself, and you get to choose this. This is called bifurcation points. For example, like I've been faced at the beginning of the journey of DROPLA. Like either I go back or I stay and build. So that was the decision that I took that led to DROPLA.
I think it's a great answer, actually. Now I will turn the cards around a bit. And again, I will put a very big, broad question, but is there any big mistake you have made since the inception of the company that you would love to warn other defense tech founders about, especially those that are just starting out?
So far, our journey has been coherent. Just because we agreed on the shore, like on the rules of engagement, of relationship, of communication, how we're gonna play this out. So far, it goes, but there is a set of rules that we have established to avoid getting into a situation where which make us regret, like what we have done. And one of the most important one is the relationship with people, with human beings. This is a single most important aspect of the entrepreneurial journey, I believe. How you build your relationship with human beings, in what spirit you forge, in what spirit you forge them. You never badmouth people behind their back. You never badmouth people in the defense industry. You never show disrespect towards a man who served and who is in the industry or working actively in the industry. You do not. You don't badmouth them because that thing is that bites you hard. It bites you so hard in the way you cannot even fathom. The word spreads really quickly about like you, your company. Disrespect is a very bad type of decision that you might choose. I am not talking about genuine confrontation. When you have different ideas or you don't agree with somebody, you can openly debate it in full spirit, and you can go into confrontation. But this silent, toxic disrespect, when face to face, like you fade face to face, and then you talk behind the back, like that is one of the worst decisions that you can choose as an individual, not just as a defense tech founder, because that type of things, they bite you in the ass down the road so hard you cannot even imagine. So that
For a
that
long time.
for a long time,
Right.
and I would guard against it. So if you think that somebody is wrong, confront him openly. Confront him. It will be a sign of strength. It will be a sign of respect to him, and the truth will be revealed in this battle. And there is nothing bad in having like different opinions. It's just you discuss them, but you don't hide and badmouth them. Oh, like that guy did that, and you never do that.
No, fair point. No, it's again very good. Just don't do it. It's not worth it.
No.
Okay, great. Another one. How do you see, actually, if we look into the whole continent of Europe, how do you see the defense tech ecosystem evolving? There are so many changes that have been made in the couple of weeks, months, and years. Do you think Europe is doing enough to help Ukraine win the war?
Oh, of course. Like we cannot undermine the efforts of our allies. I would personally wish that we had more support, obviously. But I think right now we are at the point that everybody understands it.
What about defense tech overall in Europe?
If you are a defense tech in Europe, I would strongly advise not to waste Ukrainian warfighters' time.
And how would you waste the time of a warfighter?
You would come with a completely raw, untested, under stress product in your environment, for instance, trying to bring something that you know for sure will not work. You know personally inside, you know it will not work. You're just doing that to stamp battle proven on your product and go brag about it. But you waste warfighters' time in that, like doing that. It's insane. This is the single most important thing. Get ready, get your homework done, prepare, go test in electrostatic chambers, go find the way to test it under electromagnetic interference conditions, test it, stress test it in all forms, in ballistic testing. Drive the hell out of it before you actually go into Ukraine. They will see that. They will feel it from the moment they see you. Like, you have no idea how sensitive those people are. They will never talk to you again. The bad blood that is created in this moment where you bring a raw product without due process of testing is unacceptable. So go to the hackathons, go to the meetings, meet with in like an unofficial meetings. I know Esben Glasgow is doing a very great job with his defense innovation highway, bringing and bridging the defense tech from Denmark, for instance, with Ukrainian defense tech. Talk to people there, ask that, like, how they see it, but don't ever bring a raw TRL-4, TRL-5 like product and try to push it into the use by the Ukrainian armed forces. Don't do it.
Okay, great. And we are done. Thank you so much for sharing the journey. A lot of insights that I think the next generation of defense tech founders will see as valuable as hell. So thank you so much for sharing that. And overall, I would love to ask, is there anything specific you would love to share with the defense tech community? Last thing of this episode.
There is nothing bad in being strong. There is nothing bad in forging a shield. There is nothing bad in forging a sword. There is nothing bad in desire to defend your people. It is a source of strength. If you want to straighten up your backs, this is the advice. This is the advice that has been given by Kim Jesper Jorgensen, the chief of DALO, in one of the meetings with the defense industry. He said, straighten up your backs. Straighten up your backs and work. Yeah, that is the.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, thank you so much for spending an hour with me and buying everything. Thank you so much.